Hi.
Hi, we're dealing this time with the Watchtower's take on the book of Nahum, the so-called minor prophet, from the book The Finished Mystery in 1917.
So Ray says, the prophecy of Nahum, chapter 2, verses 3 to 6, contains this passage, as rendered in the King James Version, directly against the ancient city of Nineveh. Quote, "The shield of his mighty men is made red. The valiant men are in scarlet. The chariots shall be with flaming torches in the day of his preparation, and the fir trees shall be terribly shaken. The chariots shall rage in the streets. They shall jostle one against another in the broad ways. They shall seem like torches. They shall run like the lightnings. He shall recount his worthies. They shall stumble in their walk. They shall make haste to the wall thereof, and the defense shall be prepared. The gates of the rivers shall be opened, and the palace shall be dissolved."
So before we actually get into the Watchtower's official explanation for this in 1917, we should say, if you just had that text from the King James, what would you think? Well, you would be helped by the fact that the whole prophecy is said to be about
The city of
Nineveh. And this is therefore 612 or so BC, just before Nineveh falls. There's a historical setting. It says it right in the book. So nobody, if you go to Christendom for explanations of Nahum, nobody has a problem with this having a specific application to a historical situation that existed in the days of Nahum and Jeremiah, that generation of Israel. But since you know that already, based upon what it actually says in the text, then this is set, I think, in a historical context of the First World War. What does the Watchtower want it to mean? And listen to this explanation from The Finished Mystery, starting on page 93.
Right. Nahum, we were also going to say, we're going to do it the same way we did before, is I'm going to read the text and then David's going to throw in the bracketed explanation of the Watchtower.
Even the text itself needs to be said, though, is a paraphrase of what the King James and other Bibles of the day said, in the words of the Watchtower writers, but with their explanations intruded in the brackets. Yes.
Nahum was the next one of the holy prophets, and after prophesying in the last verse of the preceding chapter about the coming of the king with his good tidings of peace to the sin-burdened earth, he next tells of an interesting thing that will be a matter of common everyday experience at the time the kingdom is established. He describes a railway train in motion.
Not an automobile, as some think.
And if we will be at the trouble to put ourselves in the prophet's place, we can see just what he saw in his vision and what he has so interestingly described. First, the prophet stands looking at the engine coming toward him, and then says, "The shield,"
the thing ahead of this great warrior, the headlight,
"is made red,
shines brilliantly.
and the valiant men,"
the engineer and the fireman,
"are dyed scarlet."
when the flames from the firebox illuminate the interior of the cab at night as the fireman opens the fire door to throw in the coal.
"The chariots,"
the railway coaches,
shall be
preceded by locomotives that at night have the appearance of
flaming torches in the day of preparation. Next, the prophet takes his place in the train and looks out of the window, and seemingly the fir trees shall be terribly shaken.
the telegraph poles alongside the track seem to be fairly dancing.
The chariots shall rage in the street.
A railway is merely an elaborate, scientifically constructed street or highway.
They shall jostle one against another in the broad ways.
The clanking and bumping of the cars together is one of the significant items of railway travel.
They shall seem like torches.
A railway train at night rushing through a distant field looks like nothing so much as a vast torch going at flying speed.
They shall run like the lightnings. Next, the prophet sees the conductor coming for his ticket and says, He shall recount his worthies.
The conductor spends his entire time almost counting and recounting his passengers, keeping them checked up, etc.
They shall stumble in their walk.
Try walking on a rapidly moving train.
They shall make haste to the wall thereof.
To the next city or town.
And the coverer,
the train shed, the station,
shall be prepared.
The baggage man, express man, mail wagon, hotel bus, intending passengers, and friends to meet incoming passengers will all be there waiting for the train to come.
The gates of the rivers shall be opened.
The doors of the cars will be opened and the people will flow out.
And the palace,
car,
shall be dissolved.
Emptied.
Unbelievable. At Revelation chapter 19, verse 10, we are told, the bearing witness to Jesus is what inspires prophesying.
We should note we're back to Ray. This is Ray.
Oh yeah, okay. That being so, the newly enthroned king reasonably should have considered with great interest the explanations of prophecy and the predictions put forth in this publication, coming from an organization claiming to be his chosen messenger, his channel of information. In his judging work, he would naturally examine this timely message, supposedly from God, a publication offered to all mankind in a period of great crisis amid the suffering of World War I. As the December 15, 1977 Watchtower, page 751, states, quote, their faithfulness and spiritual wisdom in the Master's service determines their worthiness to be put in charge of all the earthly belongings of their Master.
Ray goes on, the examples that have been set out are not unusual exceptions. One need only read the finished mystery book to see that they are typical of the kind of material found in the book as a whole. They are not presented simply to show what incredibly imaginative silliness, and I do not think this term is here misused or unfair, men are capable of when they hold a religious concept these writers did. They are presented because witnesses, reading the claims of the clear superiority of the Watchtower organization in spiritual wisdom over all other religious sources of spiritual food in that period, have heard a very slanted presentation. Most of them have absolutely no means for investigating the reality, since the Watchtower publications of that time are not available to them. It must be remembered that, according to the Watchtower Society, this period was one of great historical and divine significance, both for the organization and for the world. A crucial period in which the organization's selection by God as his channel to all mankind was at stake, dependent greatly on what the Master found in making his inspection of the feeding being done. This book played a very prominent part in that history. The 1988 publication, Revelation, its grand climax at hand on page 165, describes the finished mystery as, quote, a powerful commentary on Revelation and Ezekiel, unquote. A review of its contents forces one to wonder if the writer of those words had even read the book or given it any serious consideration. I sincerely doubt that the organization today would consider reprinting a single chapter, in fact any portion whatsoever of that book. It would prove painfully embarrassing. Yet, the publishing of the finished mystery book is often referred to in the Society's later publications as a milestone event.
Yeah, that's the only way I'd ever heard of it being spoken of. And I would think that this person didn't know what the book actually said. He's just parroting what he's been told as well. And you assume that the Watchtower is truthful about its past.
Yes, you do. So, in the next segment, we'll get to Ray's discussion of the reaction to the release of the finished mystery, both among the Bethel family in New York and, of course, the world's reaction, the church's reaction specifically. But it leads off the next discussion with the admission in Watchtower publications, even today, that it was a bombshell, the release of this book, but they don't, of course, tell you exactly why it was a bombshell. Just that there was a great deal of disputing about its publication. And it is a fascinating story, which we'll get to with Ray in the next segment.
Okay.